What is going on, Eye Warriors? It's your boy Edward V, and today we're going to talk about the advantages of intermittent fasting versus all the other diets or any other diet. We're going to break down what's so special about intermittent fasting and why you should even choose to do intermittent fasting. That's what we're going to go ahead and break down in this video. Stay tuned. Guys, quickly before we start, this video is brought to you by yours truly, Fledge Fitness and the Fledge Fitness Jump Rope. If you haven't gotten yours yet, what are you waiting for? With an ergonomic design, aluminum handle, and swivel design, you can't go wrong with the Fledge Fitness Jump Rope. You can click on the top right-hand corner of this video or down in the description box below. And of course, as always, guys, thank you so much for your support. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. All right. First, before I start, this is not a bash of any other diet. This is not a thing attacking another diet for whatever reason. And this is not saying that intermittent fasting is better. These are just showing the differences and the unique advantages that you can get from intermittent fasting. If those other diets work for you, do not stop doing those other diets to do intermittent fasting. That will be ridiculous. Go ahead and stick to what works for you. If you're doing those other diets and they just don't seem to work for you, maybe this video can help. Now, let's dive into some of the things that are beneficial when you do intermittent fasting versus all other diets. The first thing is that intermittent fasting is essentially the only diet that allows you to still, here you go, ladies and gentlemen, do all the other diets that you like, with the exception of eating every 3 hours. That has been debunked, however, in terms of revving your metabolism, so that diet doesn't even need to exist. But if you're one of those that constantly wants to eat because you're in fear that your muscle is going to cannibalize itself every second that you're not eating, you can do intermittent fasting. For everyone else, keto, vegan, meat eaters, paleo, DASH diet, Mediterranean diet, Weight Watchers, you name the diet and you can do it with intermittent fasting. I call intermittent fasting the chameleon diet because you can literally connect it to any other diet. If you like what you do already and you wanted to implement intermittent fasting, you can, without having to let go of that diet. There are so many people that have varied and complex versions of their intermittent fasting system. They do intermittent fasting, but they also do keto. They do intermittent fasting, but they're also vegan. It's the chameleon diet that allows you to attach any other diet to the intermittent fasting protocol. Number two, it allows for you to burn fat without replacing the fat. Now, there has been studies showing, for example, switching energy substrates when you're doing keto, for example, just keto without intermittent fasting has shown that even though you're burning more fat, you're also consuming more fat. Therefore, the net negative, net positive kind of washes itself out if you don't integrate something like intermittent fasting into those diets. There are some studies that show that. With intermittent fasting, you are burning more fat without having to overeat any macronutrient that will offset the amount of fat that you're burning. So you're burning fat by the nature of the diet of intermittent fasting. When you deplete glycogen stores, your body still needs glucose. Your body's intelligent enough to use fatty acids, the fats that you have stored, using the liver through a process called beta hydroxybutyrate. It turns those fatty acids into ketones. Those ketones act as a replacement for glucose because you no longer have it. And then your body continues this filtering process to provide the energy to your brain until you give your body glucose again by eating any type of carbohydrates. And your body will then at that point stop using ketones and start using glucose. So the cool thing with intermittent fasting is that you are not burning fats while replenishing fat. You are simply burning fat without overcompensating for any macronutrient. You can essentially eat the way you want to eat when doing intermittent fasting. There are also innate intermittent fasting benefits. A study looking at blood lipid profiles found over 40 metabolic health advantages seen in the blood for those who did intermittent fasting versus those who did not do intermittent fasting. There are things that improve through the process of intermittent fasting that come directly from the fact that you're doing intermittent fasting. How do we know this? Because one of the things that has been told about intermittent fasting is that it is a fallacy in terms of health, and that the reason you are seeing better blood markers, better metabolic health markers, is simply because of the weight loss. Well, there have been a bunch of studies where they literally do not allow the participants to lose weight. They have them eating at maintenance. One group doing intermittent fasting, the other group not doing intermittent fasting, in a randomized control style. And those who do intermittent fasting show improvements in blood pressure, show improvements in insulin sensitivity, show a decrease in oxidative stress, a decrease in inflammation, an improvement in hunger control, a decrease in ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone. There are which can help you in terms of losing weight. There are so many things that come from the process of intermittent fasting that are separated from the fact that you have lost weight. Yes, if you compound the fact that intermittent fasting also helps you lose weight and you lose weight, that loss of weight will also provide metabolic health benefits to you. But intermittent fasting in and of itself also gives you innate health benefits that come directly from the protocol that is separated from the weight loss itself. And people will not reference these studies. They will only talk about the theoretical explanation of the fact that you are losing weight in conjunction with intermittent fasting, because it is very efficient for that, and say, well, that's the reason why I think you are being healthy, without even trying to look at the studies that keep the participants' weights the exact same. Intermittent fasting also helps to free up your time. You could be making meals, prepping meals, and doing all of that stuff if you want, but if you do intermittent fasting instead, you don't have to worry too much about meal preparation. You only have to worry for a little bit of time, for a short amount of time throughout the day, and this allows you to be more cognitively aware of how much you're eating. If you had no, I call them invisible walls, if you had no invisible walls that prevented you from eating outside those walls, like a fasting time where you just know you're not going to eat anything because you're in your fasting time frame, people tend to gain weight not because they're overeating during their meals, but because they're overeating when they're snacking throughout the day, when they're grazing throughout the day. A few chips here, a few nuts here, a little bit of soda over here, some french fries that my kids bought over here, a chicken nugget over here. Oh, I didn't know I had that sandwich. Let me just make it real quick. It's just a little sandwich over here. Oh, you bought burgers and stuff? That's cool. I'll take half of your burger over here. By the time you know it, you compile all of those things over the course of weeks, plus the meals that you are actually eating, that you sit down and eat, and you end up being at a caloric surplus while thinking that you're not really eating that much, because every time you're grazing is little pieces here and there. Intermittent fasting creates invisible walls that keep you from grazing and keep you cognitively aware of the amount of food and calories, because that's important. You need to be at a net negative energy balance to even burn fat. If not, you will burn fat but replenish it at the end of the day and still be at a net positive if you're at a caloric surplus. So intermittent fasting is one of the best tools for self-control, for how much you're actually eating throughout the day. Hopefully this video has helped you guys, and of course, as always, I want to thank my patrons from my Patreon. I'm gonna go ahead and put their names right up here. And as always, guys, I'll see you on Sunday for another FAQ. Peace!